Hello Talk family, and welcome back to another episode of Talk the Talk. I'm your host, my name is Deshpalay Bechin, and joining me today is Laurette Morgan. She is a broadcast and motoring journalist. Now this is few and far between for me, so what a pleasure to have Laurette in studio with me. Laurette is a phenomenal, influential and inspirational woman. She's a radio and television personality as well as a voiceover artist who has been working in the industry for more than 25 years. Her very first TV job was as an anchor for CNW, which is the Christian network on Mnet, and most memorably, she was co-presenter of SABC's 3's motoring show Drive Time back in the 90s. It's an absolute honor, as I said, to have this incredible woman in studio with me today. So without further ado, let's welcome Laurette. And as always, this interview is proudly brought to you by Seriti Solutions, MFC, and Avo by Nedbank. Hello, Laurette.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, and you? Thank you
well,
so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. So, Laurette, I am so absolutely not just overwhelmed and excited, but intrigued because there are not many females in motoring South Africa that takes on the responsibility of wanting to be a journalist.
Absolutely.
And you have a passion for that.
Yes.
You've started your own YouTube channel. You've been doing a lot of work. You're also a news anchor. But let's tell our viewers who you are and where did this all begin and more about yourself.
All right. Okay. So I started. Well, first of all, I was in London working as a range model in the late 80s, early 90s,
Wow.
Giving away my age, sorry.
Yeah, late 80s, I must have been like under 10 years old. Okay.
I studied drama there at the Lee Strasberg Academy and decided to come back to South Africa and do television because I was too scared my mom was going to see me naked in Hollywood. So I came back and I did a short television course, presenter's course, and then landed my first job, as you said, at Mnet. In 1996, Alan Johnson approached me. Well, he didn't approach me, he actually had auditions open. And what I did, because of my experience so far in television, also my husband was in television, he was working for Mnet, and his friend was a cameraman, etc. So we took his little MGA and put together this whole little production with my scarf in the wind, and here we went and we filmed, and I did a whole piece on the MGA and sent it off to Alan Johnson, and he called me up the one day, I nearly died. He said, "Well, you're clearly a professional, you've got the job." I said, "Thank you very much," and the rest is history. You know, it really started there. That was in 1996, as I said. And obviously lots of stuff with Drive Time over the years. When Drive Time was taken off air at SABC, I became motoring editor for GQ because they had just come into South Africa. So I did that for a long time. I got to a crossroads though. At the same time, all these years, I had been doing radio news and television news. So I was doing Summit, I was doing 94.7 and I was doing quite well there, and Sam and Jeremy asked me to be their desk editor for The Rude Awakening. So I got to a point where my hours, and I was also a station voice for SABC2, which I still am to today, and I got to a point where I would be so tired in the afternoon by the time I had to go do shoots for, you know, the magazine and stuff like that. And you know how it works in the industry. They don't pay you a massive salary. They pay you per word that you write and whatever.
Absolutely.
And I had to make a choice. I had to choose between cars and news because of, and obviously I was getting a good salary at 94.7. So I chose that. And as much as I love news, it was something I regretted ever since. So always kept in touch with everybody in the car industry, etc. And about 7 years ago, I was working on Caxton radio with Paul Rotherham, and I said, I'm going to start a motoring program again, which I then did. Caxton Motoring, and they later closed. I moved to Ekurhuleni FM, where I have drive time with Laurette Morgan. It is on a Monday evening at 6 o'clock. Well, in the summer it's afternoon, in the winter it's evening. An hour-long show where I go through industry news. I have a segment called New Energy Savvy. I also change things because I also speak to Eugene from Master Drive with Street Savvy.
I know Eugene, amazing
yes, he's
people.
so amazing
right,
person.
yes.
And
in fact, we're going to meet at Neisner very soon for the
really?
Samola Hill Club.
And he's such an amazing player in the industry. He does so much. And that's basically to educate the community about how to behave in a car on the road. Okay, very important, how to be safe. Then I have New Kids on the Block, which is obviously the new models. I have Facelifts, Snips and Tucks, which is just fixing, a little snip and tuck here with the cars as they upgrade them. And nowadays they do it so often. You've got so many of them. And then I've got Test Drive with Laurette Morgan, which is obviously my take on a vehicle, the vehicle I've been driving for that week.
Ah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
so very similar to what we do.
Yes. We all do pretty much the same thing. I think it's just the different personality, the different view, but people want different views.
Absolutely.
I've realized that. I've just recently started Car Blondie on YouTube.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Car Blondie. We are going to put up that link so our followers can follow you.
At Car Blondie SA.
Okay,
yes,
we're definitely going to have it in the caption of this interview. So, among other things, obviously you love motoring, but what encouraged you to work within the motoring industry in the first place?
Do you know, I've been a car person ever since I can remember. We lived in Pietermaritzburg when I was a little girl. My father had an old Ford Prefect, which didn't even go anymore. It was British Racing Green, and it stood in the yard. We had a very big property, and that was my car. And I used to pretend I was driving it, and I would get them all to get into the back, and I would charge them. Taxi wouldn't go anywhere, but but also, I think more so than anything, my father is absolutely crazy about cars. He's still alive. He's 96 now.
Wow.
And a good innings.
What's the secret? Do we know?
Do you know what he says to me? Everything in moderation.
Wine as well.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely. and he actually used to get me to help him work. He used to fix his own cars. So ever since I can remember, I used to work on cars with him.
Wow.
And the very first time I worked with him, I remember him getting a piece of cork and drawing a gasket, and he asked me to cut it out. And of course I didn't know. And I put the scissors in, I went through the gasket and cut the center out.
Oh my
Something I'd never forget. So that's where it started with me, And then through the years I always helped him fix cars, and I just always had a passion for cars. I remember in those days there was a guy who lived down the road who had a Ford Capri. One of those 70s Ford Capris, just absolutely beautiful. And my passion is just, I have always, without question, spent most of my money on my cars.
Wow.
I'm at a stage now where I'm...
So you are a petrol head?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because not all of us journalists...
I couldn't buy groceries,
heads.
but I would have a GTI.
So I think as female motoring journalists, I don't think for you so much, but for me, it's a new, landscape for us to navigate, and it's important for us to ensure that our work is actual and accurate and factual. So how do you make sure or ensure that this is what you do? Keep your work accurate and factual.
Well, obviously, check the facts to start with. You get the original information from the motoring manufacturers or whatever you're working on. But say you're talking about a new model that's come into the market, you get your press release. I find that a lot of motoring journalists, and I won't mention names, basically copy the press release and don't do any of their own research. But I think it's very important to talk to people in the business, to other people, to understand everything that you're actually reading, what it actually means.
Absolutely.
And then to go and check all the facts. if something is bothering you, what I tend to do, I sometimes irritate them, but I phone the PRs, I phone the head of the company, I phone whoever, and I check till I'm sure that I've got the right information.
No,
because after all, we are informing the public and they've got to be able to trust us.
Absolutely. And what do you love most about being a female car influencer? You should be interviewing me, because I need someone to interview me,
Yeah,
okay?
I think so. Well, I'll do that. I'll do that soon.
These are the questions that I would love to be asked.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I've only just started being an influencer. I struggle with that term, the influencer, because
which
to
is
me,
sometimes more powerful than being a journalist.
Absolutely.
Now, we have studied journalism,
yes,
put all our effort into that, but being an influencer is very powerful.
In terms of reaching people, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think a combination of both is very nice. So I'm very lucky there. But I think it's important for women to hear from other women when they want to purchase a car.
Absolutely.
Okay. Men and women don't look at the same things when you buy a car at all. You know, I find that when I drive a vehicle and I don't look at other reviews, so that I first do my review and I know what I find and what I'm looking at. And I will then sometimes go afterwards and read male reviews and emphasis on different things. There are little things, like for me, the mood lighting in a car is really important. I love it. I love it. I love the mood lighting. I love it.
Those blues and the soft purples.
And the purples and the whatever. Yes, I love it. And must have a vanity mirror. Some don't have vanity mirrors on both sides. There's certain things, like if there's too much tech is fantastic, but it must be kept simple. Some of the vehicles, especially the high-end vehicles, you need to read the manual before you can turn the radio on. And I like things pretty simple as well. You know, it must just work and whatever. Yes, comfort's lovely and whatever, but then of course you talk about space. I think sometimes it's more important for women, because you're doing the grocery shopping, etc. How much boot space you have, etc. Kids,
bags,
whatever bags. Yeah. So it's a bit of a different. And although I like racy cars, I don't race around. I think that was in my young days. And when you do it, it must be in a protected environment on a racetrack. So Dej, back to your question. I think what I enjoy the most about being a female influencer is to basically help women. I mean, none of us are the same. No two people are the same, not even women. And we all look for different things in a car. And I try and cover as much as I can in terms of a female perspective, helping, hopefully, just in a little bit, helping to make that decision. And it is such an important decision.
Absolutely. Whether it's a pensioner, a student, or just a mommy or an executive, it is extremely daunting to go through the process.
Your car is your best friend. You spend the most time in your car. Well, I do anyway.
You do.
and the thing is that you've got to buy the right car, and it's not a cheap item.
Absolutely. So back to you. Okay, what and who inspires you and why?
It's more ordinary people who've really in my life, who I've worked with and been in touch with, who've inspired me more so than people far away on a platform, you know, stars or famous people. Somebody who inspired me and actually finally got me to do Car Blondie was Mark Pilgrim. Now Mark worked
late Mark
Pilgrim.
May his soul rest in peace.
Yeah, I worked with Mark at Hot 1027, where I'm a news anchor, and we did the Saturday morning breakfast show together. And he, as sick as he was, he started documenting everything on YouTube to help other people with cancer. He didn't flinch. He was so organized, so disciplined, and just the way he lived and the way he did things, I looked at myself and I said, what are you doing? You've been wanting to do this forever. Get it together.
Absolutely.
Do this. And yeah, so he was a great inspiration, and we used to compare gadgets that we used for our YouTube channels and stuff. But I would say, you know, I don't really have a role model as such. Obviously, I used to love Top Gear. I always used to watch Top Gear.
Jeremy Clarkson.
Clarkson.
Like, I was like South Africa's Jeremy Clarkson. That was my dream, okay? Changes over the years, but yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say, and then, you know, what inspires me and what I love about the business, the people you meet, just all the people you meet.
It's an exciting place to be.
And one person who really uplifted me as well was Coulthard, David Coulthard. He was here with Mercedes-Benz 1 year, and we went round the track, and he took my son round the track, and we spoke a lot and whatever. And people like that, to see them living their dream, and it's not just a dream, it's hard work.
Absolutely.
And as long as you realize that and you're prepared to stick it out and do that, you can only be successful, I believe.
Most definitely, of course. You have to, it's very important to realize that opportunities don't happen, you create them, so it's so important. What's your opinion about our women empowerment initiatives, which is obviously backed by Nedbank, MFC and Avo by Nedbank, and is it necessary? Is this a necessary evil that has entered into the industry to allow women to find a home where they feel isolated? It's very male dominated. It's going to be that way for a long time. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think you guys are doing wonderful work and very necessary work. As you said, there's some stigma attached to it still in terms of women not having the confidence, thinking, I can't go talk to men about cars, to people about, how can I tell a man about a car? Things like that. But it's not like that. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, and it's important for us women to be out there and have a voice and tell other women and men about cars.
Absolutely.
So I think what you're doing is wonderful, and and thanks for giving me the opportunity to showcase what I do on your show.
I think you're a celebrity, so I'm like, you know, I'm learning, I'm sponging off you right now. So is there any advice for women that want to join our trade?
First of all, you must have a passion for it. I think passion is what carries you through. When things become, sometimes, you know, you wouldn't think that motoring can ever be boring, and I'm not saying motoring is boring, but there are times and certain jobs that you do and whatever, and you work hard. It's hard work, so be prepared to work hard, okay?
Or work smart, rather.
And hard, yeah, maybe smart. Maybe I just work too hard. I should work smarter. But be passionate about it, be committed, be disciplined, and try. If you want to get into the industry, it's not always easy. You're going to have to work for free initially. It always works like that.
I think it's so important to go back to that quote, I think it is. Don't find customers for your product. Find product for your customers. And it's so important that we understand that we are in a transforming industry.
Yes. And
women are now, I think, 53% purchasers of vehicles.
Yeah.
So we know that we as journalists or as influencers, that we need to provide that information. Not necessarily calling our viewers and followers customers, but ensuring that we provide them with the right information.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in a nutshell, maybe do a write-up, do something, send it to, well, it's actually quite strange because today you don't send to publications anymore. Get a camera, do a review, stick it on YouTube, see where it goes. Yes. Put it out there, get content out.
Gosh, ladies, I mean, the reason I invited Laurette over is because we need more females. I think for the longest time there's been a bunch of us, and we're all friends in this industry. I can name a few: Yovani Ganesh in Cape Town, Farzana, that worked as well with many publications online, and she has Redline Motoring. Hi Farzana, I know you watch some of my programs. She's been also a recipient for the Motoring Woman of the Year Awards, which is a program that is supported by MFC, a division of Nedbank. We have a bunch of women, but Charlene Clark, but it's still too few. We have 29 plus brands in South Africa. I can only do so much. We reviewing 10 plus more vehicles a month. And we need more females.
Yeah.
We need more females
Definitely.
in the industry. Laurette, any parting words of wisdom for us? I can only learn from you since you started in the 80s and I was born in the 80s. Any words of advice
Well,
for us?
you've done incredibly well in a very short time. I mean, you've focused and you've really just gone with it and you've really achieved wonderful things, I think. I think the only words of wisdom is be persistent, be consistent, and never give up.
Aw, thank you, Laurette, and I hope that we can engage further.
So do I.
Our platforms are growing. We have, I think, currently we are the biggest motoring empowerment for women platform in the world.
Fantastic.
In the world. So we are definitely growing, and we'd like to engage more in terms of how we can empower more women nationally, maybe even globally.
Yes.
And talk about not just supercars, but like you, the car blondie. So
ordinary
please
cars.
follow Laurette. Laurette, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Viewers, we would like to thank you for your continued support and encourage you to like and share our content. Our non-profit companies, the Motoring Woman of the Year Awards, powered by MFC and Avo by Nedbank, and the Talk the Talk Studios, sponsored by Seriti Solutions and Avo by Nedbank, are platforms aimed at empowering, uplifting, and celebrating the women of motoring South Africa. We are not just telling stories, we are changing lives. If you are searching for a new or pre-owned vehicle, please visit www.auto.avo.africa. We have a wide range of vehicles on sale for you to choose from, and we only advertise on behalf of reliable and trustworthy MFC accredited dealerships. This car listing portal is user-friendly, and you can also find vehicle reviews, car maintenance tips, and automotive advice, all courtesy of Talk the Talk Studios. So ladies, in light of this amazing interview, which is, like I said in the beginning, few and far between. I've never actually interviewed a journalist, a motoring journalist, on my platform, and I'm very, very proud to say that Laurette will be joining us. I want to leave you with this quote: without passion, you don't have energy. Without energy, you have nothing. Now, I always say that effort is between you and you alone. No one can gift or give you effort. Ladies, the most important thing or things in life is time. Take time. Rome wasn't built overnight. Big accomplishments require persistence and consistency, as Laurette said, unwavering efforts over an extended period of time. It does not happen suddenly. Every activity and every process demands efficiency, knowledge, understanding, and intelligence, which cannot happen at breakneck speed, even though we want to believe that, in addition to consistent effort and time. If a task looks tedious and painful, have patience and persevere. By stopping, it won't finish or go more quickly. Instead, you'll start doing it consistently. How many jobs will you give up? Hence, if you approach your work with patience and composure, you will finally succeed. With a profound and inclusive experience, you will live a vibrant and a successful life, and you will create vibrant situations. And that quote is from my guru, Sadhguru. So with that, I would like to remind you that the question should never be who's going to let me, it should always be who's going to stop me.